Welcome to the Inflection Podcast, where we explore the pivotal moments that have shaped us into who we are today. I am your host, Anabi, and I can't wait to dive into these moments with you. Let's get it. So great to have you with me here today, Sefunmi, CEO, co-founder of Co.Lab. It has been a long time coming. Thanks for hopping on board on the pod with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, so I'm glad we're able to finally do this.
Yeah, pulled it off finally. But I just wanted to dive in with the Inflection Podcast. I am obsessed, mildly obsessed with the inflection points, the turning points that have led up to this moment. And your story is very interesting, and all the pivots you've taken to get to where you're at today with Co.Lab. So I just want to peel back the layers a little bit more. Starting background in electrical engineering, got into product and whatnot. Let's dive into that. So what did it look like for you, uni and making those pivots?
Yeah, as you said, I went to University of Waterloo, actually in Canada, to study electrical engineering. Shout out to my Waterloo folks. The some reason for that is because growing up in Niger, so I was born and raised in Niger. A lot of my early life spent in Niger. Till today, we still don't have functioning electricity, like constant electricity. It
Yep.
triggers off occasionally. And so growing up, I experienced that, and it's like, why does this happen? And we hear about cases of people on life support, and unfortunately, they lost their lives because there was no power, and you hear it doesn't empower businesses, and then thinking about the noise pollution and air pollution that comes with generators and just having that on constantly. So I didn't even think it was good for the economy, it wasn't good for the people. So I was like, I really want to solve that problem, just like experiencing life that in my early years. So I was like, I've become an electrical engineer. I'm going to fix and solve this problem. And that's why I went into college for that. But to my surprise, it's not a technical problem. It's a solved problem. Like many countries, like the US, Canada, everywhere, even countries in Africa have solved these problems already. We try to understand why does this still happen? And it's more about people, institutions, political challenges, and the political climate there. So it was very disheartening feeling this lofty problem that I wanted to spend, my adult life solving. I couldn't really solve it again, or I shouldn't lose hope and say I can't solve it again, because there's still a problem that I do think I, I want to play a part in solving, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like an immediate, it was not going to be a quick fix. I then started thinking about, okay, what else am I going to do? What other goals do I have? And I think that's when, for me, I started paying attention to the things that were happening in Silicon Valley, and I found that very interesting. And I was like, wow, this tech, a lot of people like building cool products. These products are like amazing and magical. And I really wanted to play a part there and also solve a new problem that I had experienced, which is as an international student transitioning into Canada, transition to the educational system and the work system. It was incredibly challenging for us. A fun or not so fun statistic, in my university or college, 80% of the international students who came into the engineering department actually failed their first term,
Whoa.
um, which is
80%.
80%, 80%.
Wow.
And so these folks were my friends that we came into the school together, came from Nigeria together. I went Waterloo, made it. And in the first semester, like 80% of people failed that term, which meant some people had to transfer schools, some people had to repeat the term, do it again, some people had to switch programs, like switch out of engineering and go to other programs. So it was very shocking for me. And I was like, I don't want anyone to experience this problem. How do we fix it? And then that sort of kickstarted my product stroke entrepreneurial journey. And it was this search of, okay, I'm trying to solve this problem, but through that, I'm also going to find myself, find my place in entrepreneurship, also find my place in my skills and what I can do and what positions I can be in tech. So that's like a little bit of like a background and
Yeah.
how some of those pivots happen. Those pivots happen based off of just life experiences, what happened around me, and my context even growing up. So I'll stop there for now, and we can go deeper if you like.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that. As a fellow Nigerian immigrant, I really resonate with that. Growing up and not having electricity, even though you paid your bills, and just think, you're
Yeah,
like, what? You paid your bills, and sorry, power outage for 2 weeks. Good luck. And having generators, I think that really shapes us and forms us for the kinds of problems we want to
yeah,
solve. Because for me, I think about the electricity. I also think about internet connectivity because that was very spotty, and also
yeah,
cellular network, so
yeah,
phone calls and all of that. And it's a massive opportunity in many places, but especially where we grew up, that I keep looking at
yeah,
ways, renewable energy and other avenues, like how can we solve for those problems.
exactly.
But something else you brought up when we were talking some weeks ago, Dropbox, right? So at school, you got to learn about Dropbox and the innovations happening there. And one thing that you realized was, if you want to get something done, you absolutely can. Like, could you dive into that a little bit? Because I thought that was very
Yeah.
intriguing.
Yeah, I was sharing that story and thinking about that story because when I was in first year, so Dropbox had already come out, they'd already gone through YC, and they've been out for a few years, but this is the time where they were doing a lot of that hyper growth. So running a lot of campaigns around, hey, if you share Dropbox with your friends, you get 40 gigabytes of storage. So I think I got into Dropbox around 2012. So it was years after they launched. And it was the closest thing to magic that I feel like I had experienced. It was like you put a file on your phone and then it shows up on your laptop, or you put the file on your laptop, it shows up on your phone. So it was this like amazing synchronous experience. And I was like, wow, it felt so magical. And they ended up doing a talk in my university. It was an engineering talk, it was a very technical talk. And we talked about how obsessed Austin was around the user experience. And at that time, when your files finished uploading on the Mac app, you would see a green checkbox. Right. So Apple
Nice.
didn't support that in the OS, even in the client and in the front end on the traffic lights on Mac was usually red, yellow. Dropbox was blue. I've never seen that before. So it just added a little bit of like personalization and customization that Dropbox was like, oh, we wanted it to be green, we wanted it to be blue, sorry, the traffic light. But then we wanted users to know that the files are actually synced. That it's not just there. So they created that checkbox. And when the technical talk went into detail how they did it, so they talked about how they had to inject code into the OS to be able to accommodate that and to be able to make it happen. I was like,
Wow.
why go through so much work just to have that green checkbox, just to have that blue traffic light to be able to minimize and close the app? And I think it's really the importance of obsessing over the customer experience and the user experience. And even though there is no
Yeah.
way to do it, you figure it out. And I remember the engineer saying that the head of engineering, Drew Houston, was like saying, the CEO of Dropbox was saying, we need to get this done. This is like non-negotiable. Whereas some engineers or some PMs will just give up and say, oh, Apple doesn't support it, so we can't do it. A lot of times companies sleep for managers and everyone is like, oh, this API doesn't support it, this library doesn't support it, and so we can't do this feature. That shows if you're cared about the customer experience. And again, not every company has the luxury to be able to do this. You need to have obviously great funding, great engineers, great talent to be able to spend months or weeks trying to get something right because that's the bar that you want for the experience for your users.
Yep.
I absolutely love that. And I was like, yeah, I want to build products that are like this. I want to build products that impact customers. I want to be obsessed over the details and the user experience before anyone gets to experience the products that I built. So I was like, yes, I was from Dropbox. I was like, I need to get into tech. I need to make it to California. I need to go to Cali and do something. And I made that my goal after attending that tech talk. And it eventually happened, but it took a long time for me to be
Yeah.
able to make it to California.
Like, someone sees your story now and they're like, yay, overnight success. And it took a while. You worked on the to-do list app, you learned a
Yeah.
ton. Ultimately put it on ice, but you took the learnings from that forward. Interning at Microsoft, Apple PM. What was that jump like? Because I know for a lot of aspiring PMs, right, they're looking and like, man, I've been interviewing, I've been trying a lot of things, and it's not working out. Do you think you working on that to-do list app on the side, as the PM and the founder for that, did that help inform and help with your subsequent PM gigs and what you're doing now?
Absolutely. I think I say this to my friends, but I didn't say this publicly yet, but I perhaps actually write about this. One of the most influential or impactful points in my career, I can trace it back to the decision I made to work on that to-do list. That pretty much changed the trajectory of my career, even changed me as a person. And without that to-do list, that Microsoft wouldn't have happened. Apple wouldn't have happened. And even if Microsoft happened to happen, I don't think Apple would have happened without the to-do list. And I
Oh,
don't think
wow.
when I got my first full-time role at Ecobee, the smart home technology company, was also because of that to-do list. Yes, they were impressed with Apple and Microsoft, but I remember talking to my manager who then hired me. It was because of that to-do list. I interviewed for other companies as well, going for Shopify, interviewed with Google. Again, to-do list app kept on coming up. So at the moment of me deciding that I'm going to build this product from scratch and try to solve this problem and try to be a co-founder or be an entrepreneur, that is the moment that not only did a lot of great things for my confidence, both good or bad, both good and bad, sorry,
Yeah.
and also kickstarted my career. And I'll walk you through the process. So before starting that to-do list, again, I just had this goal and vision that I don't want to build into tech. I want to work at companies like Dropbox, or start companies like Dropbox. But guess what? I didn't know how to code. I didn't know how to design. I didn't know what other positions were there. And every other person in tech had to be a software engineer. But I was like, I wasn't a software engineer. I was in computer science. And I looked at my friends who were engineers and they just seemed a lot more advanced. And I was like, how would I be able to get to their level? I just felt
Yeah.
like I was 5 years behind. And I probably was 5 years behind, even if I decided to say I want to start doing software engineering. So I
Yeah.
was in this phase where I was like, hey, I can design, but I don't know what to do. Passionate. I don't want to solve this problem. And at that time, there were not a lot of non-technical roles. There were, but they weren't as glamorous or as common now. Um, and I didn't even know what management was, but I was like, you know what? Let me, I guess, for the lack of a better term, let me hustle. That's what I always used to say. I used to call
Yeah.
myself a hustler. Amongst my friends, they always knew that you were shown as a hustler. And then, so what I ended up doing was I just started talking to students. I went around campus and spoke to hundreds of students every day. And I'm like, go on campus. I'll just start pitching people this idea for that to-do list. Again, motivated by me wanting to solve that problem for international students who unfortunately had to fail and had to restart the program or leave the school or even leave the country. Some of my friends actually ended up like going back home because of that.
Wow.
So talking to them about the motivations and say, hey, I'm going to solve this problem, talking to students consistently, talk to students. And then at that time, I could do some sketches. So I just had sketches on paper. So I'll show it to them on paper and be like, hey, this is what it's going to do. If you press this button, it's going to do this. And blah, blah, blah. So I just kept on doing that. And throughout that process, I met people who were like, you, I love what you're doing. I love the passion. How can I help you? And these people were engineers, designers, someone who wanted to do like marketing to me. And I just work with me because of that. I realized a lot of people, yes, they like the idea, but they were mainly picking for picking me and wanting to. I'm curious what this kid has in store. He just walked up to me, talked to me, he's pitching this idea. And I decided to take a leap of faith. I took one of my internship terms to just work on this project for 4 months. So I kept on building again, going back to students. Anytime we build anything, we just
Wow.
have prototypes. I'll just go back, show them, and then it's like exciting. I built a wait list. People made like a amazing marketing video, like an animation video. I was like, great to help gather funds or whatever. I just posted it on my Facebook and got 500 people to sign up for the wait list. I was like, it was very excited. Again, like just hustling.
Yeah.
And then just talking to the developers and like, okay, what are we building? What are we doing? Again, I wasn't working there. We were just building a bunch of people who were excited and they wanted to build stuff and they wanted to solve this problem. And every single person who worked on the project also benefited from it because they also had stuff on their resume that they were able to showcase to hiring managers. We launched the apps. We launched the apps on the iOS App Store, the Google Play Store. And sure, you got a couple hundred downloads, but it didn't go anywhere. I wasn't on TechCrunch. I didn't win any funding, but I had something physical, but just not anything in my that. No one could take
Yeah.
that away from me. I could tell that story. What I decided to do was just tell that story over again. Again, this motivation, what problem that I was solving. My problem is emotion. 80%, I could quantify 80% of the international students fail the first year. I don't want them to do it again. So I came up with a time management tool. The reason why it's a time management tool is because I spoke to students and they realized they had problems managing their time because they haven't had such a busy schedule before. And guess what?
Yeah.
When talking to students, I showed them paper mock-ups, computer mock-ups on the phone, on the team of people. So telling that story over and over again, told that story on my website. I go to a website, I told that story on my resume when I said, hey, I was product manager for this. And that's when I also learned about product management. That first thing I learned is what I was doing, I was hustling, professional hustling to get all these people to and the get them excited, build something, showcase that to customers. The only part of product management that I failed to accomplish was actually get something useful or usable for customers. So that was the only piece that was missing, but everything else I had done. So when I showed that to employers and when I started applying for jobs, you could see that they were like, okay, this part is missing. We can train you on that and we can train you how you can do this better. So that's when I started
Yeah.
applying for jobs. And even while I was applying, I was very confident. There's a lot that confidence can do to you when you feel like, hey, you have what it takes.
100%. Yeah.
So then it was a no-brainer when I was interviewing for like internships. So I interviewed for like Microsoft, Apple, that's in here. I interviewed for Twitter, Canon, a bunch of like Facebook at that time, a bunch of companies. And again, these were going very well. Telling this story again. And yeah, I was able to land my first gig again because primarily because they sure in the interview, I showed them, hey, this is it.
That's
I'll give
awesome.
it to them. And it was Joe. So I was like, yeah, play with it. Well, yeah, and then they'll play it. And I'm like, oh, this is when we built this because yeah, me and my team built this. Like, it wasn't just me. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's the
I love
reason
it, man.
why. Yeah, pretty much. So that they are like taking that those 4 months to it's 4 months of work, but it's a lot of years of internalizing and thinking about this problem because it was the first thing I experienced that problem. It wasn't until third year. So 2 years had passed before I even took action to be able to build this to-do list app. And then things started going from there. So it took me time. Yeah. So I know that was a bit of a long-winded response, but yeah, that's how I hustled my way through start my
It
career.
that was helpful, and that was why I brought it up because it's the value of you could read in all the books, product management or whatever, but when the rubber meets the road and you actually do it, even imperfectly, it goes a long way, right? To showcase that experience. In my
Yeah.
anecdotal experience, too similar. I've built a few widgets and apps and things on the side, and those really help when you can show that to employers and talk through that with like the back of your hand and can feel that confidence and feel your hustle.
Yeah.
Feel
That's
your hustle there. So the takeaway, if you're applying for PM jobs, build a to-do list app
exactly. Build it.
on the side.
There's a thousand to do this
Uh,
and but build your own, make it your own.
Yeah,
It'll
or
resonate with
build
someone.
something.
Yeah, just go
Yeah,
build something. And I think that's also the foundations of what we do at Co.Lab. Like our
yeah.
own philosophy is about we want to give you confidence so that you can succeed in the industry. And how can you showcase your confidence? You can showcase your confidence in a couple of ways. You can build something, show your work. You can showcase your credibility. So everyone in
Yeah.
that program, they build stuff. You can also collaborate with people. So we want you to experience what it feels like to be in the role before you even join so you get a lot of that actual experience. So you're showcasing real world experience, you're showcasing your credibility, you're building
Hmm.
a public. At the end of the day, you have something to show employers, hey, this is what I built, they can play with it. It's also giving you the confidence. And when you get the job, you can perform because you've done all of these things before. And so it's like mirroring that experience, but obviously doing it in a much more structured way. You don't have to
Yeah.
hustle as much as I did because yeah, there's a lot of hustling, but we try and simplify it and we also shorten the gap, right? We see people coming through our program and then in a couple months or well by a couple months, 3 to 6 months, they feel a lot more confident, they feel much better than they were, and then they can start getting to their path of starting in the industry, succeeding, doing amazing things, and doing things that I wasn't able to do while I was in the corporate
Yeah.
world, which was huge and exciting.
That is pretty cool. And to look at the origins from the 2018, the cross-functional program you piloted, experimented with that, you're like, there is something here. And then you released a book on Product Hunt, which ended up being number one. Could you elaborate on that just real quick? Your product book.
Yeah, the product book was something that I really wanted to give to the community, and a lot of times, well, it's still free. Whenever people want to learn about product management, if anyone wants to, always give it to them for
Yeah,
free.
we'll have to add
Um,
the
yeah,
link to the show
we'll add the
notes.
link. I'll add the link to share in the description. It was based off of again me transitioning into product, like hustling my way into product. But a lot of people who maybe they were taking were also not technical, like they don't have an engineering previous computer science background, and they wanted to transition to product management. So product management was like getting up there was hard, was exciting, was very impactful. So I had a couple of dozen interviews over the years, like in 2018, I was having coffee with people twice a week, 3 times a week. People just cold message me on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, I found your profile. You're a product manager. How do you do it?" And I continuously kept on the same chats where I would tell them about my story, tell them about the hustle and whatnot. There weren't only actionable things that I could tell them, hey, do this, do that. As that kept on happening, me and my co-founder came together, or shows my co-founder, can I reach out to my friend? Like, I was like, hey, I'm having this chat. There's something that you're seeing. And she's like, yeah, similarly. Then we did a whole bunch of research on the side to try and figure out what we could do to help product managers, which ended up being what similar to what Co.Lab looks like today. That seemed like a lot of work. So we're like, what's the easiest thing we can do to help people? I thought the book was one of them, whereby, hey, if you can compile a bunch of stories of people similar to myself, can give people the strategy that they can use. How can we go about doing this? That's what we did. That's what the book
That's
was. So I
cool.
interviewed 40 product managers. I came up with 5 stories to tell in the book specifically, talk about 5 themes on how you can actually transition to product management and everything that you did. I just got my PM job, first PM job. I'm great, love it. I'm glad, right? Because
Aw-
there are a lot of actionable steps there. But like people read it and then they still needed additional support. Like we wrote it, launching a product hunt, number one, very influential resource that people could use and get inspired by. And shout out to everyone who contributed their stories to be able to
Yeah,
share in the book that we used to continually preach that, hey, you don't need to have a technical background, you can come from different walks of life. Because people in the book were photographers, they studied cinema studies, they were philosophers, a psychology background, business background, and now they're like amazing product managers of Google,
that's
Coursera,
amazing.
Shopify, and many more places. So that's sort of like later on the camp of the people who read the book that were inspired but couldn't really do the things by themselves, ended up being the first few Co.Lab customers who came in
Wow.
and emailed
So
me and
on
said,
ramp
yeah,
to
exactly. So it's kind of
collab.
like they're like, hey, I just read your book. It was amazing, but I need additional help. I can't hustle the way you hustle. I can't hustle the way all of these people in your book hustle. Because it is a hustle, right? And if you want to float in the time, because everyone in the book, maybe just like myself, it took a year, 2, 3 years, if more, if not more, to fulfill that transition because they were doing it by themselves. They were trying to forge it and put it ready. Well, Co.Lab gives you a structured way to shorten one make it easy for you to support throughout the process. Some people needed sort of became the foundations for how we decided to sort of like the early stages of growth.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Thank you so much, my Niger brother, for hopping on board with us today. Just wanted to peel back the curtains a little bit, and you have done exactly that. So for those listening and they're curious about the collab, we'll put obviously links in the show notes and also the link to the ebook you alluded to. What's something on the horizon for collab you're particularly excited about right now?
Yeah, our mission continues to remain the same. We want to encourage people and give them the confidence to succeed in the industry. Whether that's by upskilling or even transitioning for the very first time, we want to spark collective action. We want people to actually take steps towards their goals. So that's why everything that we do is we have a learning by doing philosophy. We don't want you to just sit down. We want you to like actually take steps and take action. So we want to empower people in more ways to be able to do that. We've helped a lot of career switchers, but the people in the industry who currently usually stuck. So we want to help them as well, want to help them accelerate their careers. We also started helping aspiring entrepreneurs. We also want to kickstart their entrepreneurship journey, but they don't know how to. So we're also trying to connect programming and resources for them as well. I'm very excited about that. So to help the next generation of like entrepreneurs and people achieve more of their careers. Because many people can do more, they feel better, they feel confident. And I do think
Yeah.
the entire population and the community benefits from it. So we get better products, we get better people, we also get better leaders and also better humans. If you're doing well at work, you feel better at home. If you love what you're doing at work, you can be a better husband, brother, father, spouse.
Yeah.
So we do believe that once you have confidence and you're doing things that generally uplift you and uplift others, you can be in a better position. So we want to be able to enable people and empower people to live their best life, do their best things, do their best work, and feel absolutely secure while doing all of that. So I'm super excited about that. So next year is going to be a big year for us. We're also trying to also
Yeah.
give back more because we've started doing more things for the community to help Black people who just transitioned into new environments. We're helping immigrants and Black professionals and represented groups to be able to upskill and land jobs and arrive safely when they come into a new country, specifically Canada for now. So we're doing a lot of initiatives to be able to give back and just make the tech industry a representation of what we see around us today. So lots of initiatives, and I'm very excited to continue to empower and inspire others.
All right. Thank you. That's all exciting, and I am stoked to continue to see Co.Lab continue to grow. Big fan of what y'all are doing, and very happy to support in any way.
Of
Thanks,
course,
brother.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Really do appreciate it. And hopefully we can do this again when I've done all the things that I just talked about.
Yeah,
At the pivots that we're able
gladly,
to get there,
gladly. Thanks, man.
of course.